Vanessa and Kwame from MedTech Color, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Joe.
Exciting time of the year again. We've got the big event coming up in Boston this year, and that always a hit. Kwame, tell me a bit about the event and why it's so meaningful to the industry.
Well, we were surprised by a couple things. We first intended for this to be a gathering primarily of leaders of color, but what we discovered is senior leaders, allies are also equally excited about coming together in person. We have some consistent year in and year out participants. Mick Farrell from ResMed, Kevin Lobo from Stryker is always there. And it's a signal that we're on to something that is adding value to the ecosystem. And it's been wonderful to work with Vanessa on this event for several years now.
Vanessa, take me back to the genesis of MedTech Color, when it was started and the initiatives that you continue to check off every single year, building a stronger brand and a stronger awareness around the initiatives of MedTech Color.
Well, it seems like it was many, many years ago, but it wasn't that long ago. I think we are going into our 5th year of existence in 2023. And MedTech Color really started as the brainchild of Kwame and other executives of color in MedTech over dinner, talking about shared experiences in the industry, and often what can be a feeling of, loneliness, quite frankly, as you evolve and progress through your career. And so the goal was to create a platform, a community, spaces where we could connect Black primarily and Latinx professionals in MedTech with each other, where we could highlight the incredible network and pipeline of talent in this industry, and where we could start to invest in the next generation of leaders, and also to drive thought leadership on issues that really affect Black, Brown, and other historically underrepresented communities. And I'm thrilled, I'm surprised, I'm delighted at all that we've accomplished in such a short time, in large part due to just the support of people and organizations like you, and many others who believed in us and have been there, almost from the start.
Kwame, I know you had some initiatives when you sat in 2017 at a table with a bunch of your peers who looked like you, right? And you said, bunch of us in the room, but we're not represented in the populace as a whole. What's been some of the biggest surprises over this 5-6 year journey of yours that you couldn't have imagined on that evening in 2017?
Well, I will say that we had a modest goal in the earliest days of creating a community. That was really the initial thought. Just get people together so that they couldn't feel that lonely and hopefully nurture each other's professional careers. What we discovered along the way is some of our corporate sponsors are really interested in investing in the next generation of leaders. So we were able to launch a pitch competition and mini accelerator. And not only that, some accelerators wanted access to this talent, this diverse talent. So that was a wonderful outcome. But by far, what really surprised me was Vanessa from the ground up built this amazing program with Netta Hanafi, this collaborative community to diversify clinical trials. That really wasn't on our radar when we first started 5 years ago, but now it's a vibrant and active program with real impact.
Vanessa, the clinical trial initiative had not appeared on your initial sort of to-do list. What was the genesis of that? Clearly, we know the lack of representation across a number of types of people, types of races, creeds, colors, backgrounds. How did that come about? I'm curious.
Well, FDA, specifically the Center for Devices, had a few years ago launched a collaborative community initiative. And the idea behind these collaborative communities is that the Center for Devices wanted to partner with stakeholders across the healthcare and product development ecosystem to solve problems that were of importance to FDA. And one of the initiatives that the agency, particularly in the medical device space, had been focused on is how to drive more diverse and representative clinical trials and product developments. And the issue is that many of the medical devices that are used to treat broad populations of people, to diagnose disease, often are not tested or developed with Black, brown, or historically underrepresented communities in mind. So from a regulatory, from a public health standpoint, FDA recognized that the lack of diversity in clinical trials and product development can actually have and lead to adverse health outcomes. So the agency heard of MedTech Color, was supportive of what we were doing, and they reached out to us to talk about collaborative communities, and we jumped on it immediately through Netta Hanafi and her contacts in the agency. And we set about with a team of volunteers to really try to craft what this collaborative community could be, what our mission would be, who the stakeholders would be. And we have had such incredible investment from across the healthcare ecosystem. We've put on webinars on how to diversify clinical trials. We have had focus groups with patients who are telling their stories about their journeys. And there's so much more that we're doing to try to both drive greater representation in clinical research, but also have medical devices developed with the broadest, most inclusive lens possible for their intended uses.
Mm. So if somebody's watching right now and they're an emerging tech startup or they're in one of the big strategics, just quickly, how would they lean into MedTech Color in order to be a contributor of this initiative?
Go to our website. All of the information on our collaborative community and our innovator pitch competition is there, as well as our networking breakfast. And we have a great operations team here at MedTech Color, and they would be happy to send you information, to have an informational meeting with you, or to connect you with any of the individuals who are working in these various initiatives if you'd like to volunteer.
You mentioned two initiatives there I want to jump into right now because they have something to do with the upcoming networking breakfast event, which I'm really excited about, but also the pitch program. And you have invested, if I've got the number right here, over $300,000 in cash and in-kind services to 20 Hispanic and African American early stage founders in the pitch competition. So give me some great memories in the recent past from that. What should we be aware of that this is propagating and moving forward?
So what's exciting about these companies is we now know that they're going on to successfully enter into top tier accelerators. We know because they've been hand selected out of our program. They're raising additional capital. They're talking to venture capital firms. So our selection process in many accelerator, we believe, have been a gateway, a catalytic event for them to go on and reach their next meaningful milestone. What's equally exciting is we know they are solving problems unique to their experience in their communities. There's a CEO who was on WIC who developed a platform for tailored foods with health outcomes to provide access for patients on WIC. It's an interesting play on a digital health solution / platform that was born out of her experience. We have maternal health solutions that are top 10 winners, solutions for cardiovascular disease, and the list goes on and on. But the two interesting things, Joe, to me are, one, it's a signal to the broader ecosystem that these are high-grade companies that make it to our top 10. And two, they're solving unique problems based on people from different experiences from your typical MedTech CEO.
Mm, mm. And Vanessa, the upcoming networking breakfast event that I believe is on Tuesday, October 25th in the morning, that, gosh, the last year's, I don't think I made it. It was a hybrid, but obviously the years before I had been there, it's always one of the standouts from certainly the inspiring presentation, the work that's been done to date with so much more work and opportunity ahead to be done. So shed a little light on that for us, if you will, our audience.
Yeah, I mean, the networking breakfast was our first signature event, and we did it in partnership and with great support from AdvaMed at the MedTech conference. And we thought, what better place to network, to build this community that's, at the heart of MedTech Color than at the, largest signature event for our industry. And so the networking breakfast has grown year over year. I think the first year we had maybe 70 people in the room. In years past, we've had, over 300 registrants, both virtually and in person, and it just continues to grow. And one of the things that I think I am most proud of in terms of the breakfast is the ability to showcase and spotlight leaders of color in our industry, to give them a platform to share their experiences, and also to create this space where people can see each other. And I really believe that the notion that you can't be what you can't see. And so it's very inspiring and empowering for the people who are just sort of starting their careers in MedTech to be in a room with professionals from very diverse backgrounds and very diverse experiences who are eager to know them, right? And some people in those rooms have found their next job opportunity, have found a mentor who's a CEO or a leader of a division in a company. So it's a very powerful and very palpable impact that I think we're having at the breakfast. And this year we're really excited. J&J has been one of our key sponsors. They've believed in us almost from the beginning and have been enormously supportive of MedTech Color. And so we're excited to have Lamont Bryant as our keynote speaker this year. He's the Worldwide Vice President of Regulatory Affairs at Ithicon, which is a J&J company. And we're just excited to be able to hear from him, hear his journey, and hopefully to have others inspired by his experience and view on the industry.
Kwame, as one of the co-founders of MedTech Color and certainly a grand champion of it, as the next generation comes in, so just either out of university or just out of high school even, and coming into the MedTech industry, and as an underrepresented person in the category, what would be your advice in order to move forward and feel included in that? And what can a person do themselves and not necessarily wait for somebody else to do for them? What can they do for themselves, either with MedTech Color, and what advice would you give them?
I think if I had to give one specific piece of advice is find someone 1 or 2 levels beyond where you are and ask to meet them with an agenda. It doesn't have to be a 5-point agenda with a project plan going out for the next year. It can be a courtesy call to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background and learn a little bit about them. And you'd be surprised where that can go. Quite candidly, I did that very same thing with Michelle McMurray-Heath when we were both at the FDA. I asked for a courtesy call, and I'm blessed to have known her for years and received her advice over the years based off of that one courtesy call. And that's what I would advise.
And Vanessa, any input from you on that question?
I would add to that just leveraging organizations like MedTech Color. One, volunteering, raising your hand, jumping in, trying to help out. People in positions to influence your career, whether it's as a mentor, a sponsor, a future employer, see you in those volunteer roles, and you would be amazed at the kind of organic, meaningful, long-term relationships that are formed from working elbow to elbow with people on something that you're both passionate about. I know for me personally, if Kwame tells me that I should talk to somebody or meet with somebody, I do that because that's the power of MedTech Color, and the power and the impact of trusting your connections, inviting people into your network, and giving people your time and energy. And what I have found is people remember that. They don't forget it. And sometimes you can pour into people in ways that you don't even realize the impact. And at moments where you might be a little bit doubtful about what you're doing or the impact, or you might be looking for your next opportunity, somebody that you helped, spoke to, encouraged 10 years ago is speaking about you in rooms that you're not in. And that's really the power of what we are doing at MedTech Color. And so that's my advice, is get in there, raise your hand, and get involved.
I love that message about the volunteering, and it's so true. As an organization that's built companies and careers for 30 plus years, the number of fantastic things that come out of people volunteering to do something within the community you're trying to influence. And again, give without expecting anything in return, but be standing in plain sight when somebody needs something. That sort of wins across the board for everybody. Kwame and Vanessa, what details can we share with our audience about the event? How can they reach out, be part of it? And then in general, what do you hope to see over those couple days in the AdvaMed conference?
Well, I'll start. You can certainly visit us at medtechcolor.org to get all the information to register for the event. What's happening that's exciting for us is we're starting to see more service providers, top tier organizations, not just OEMs, raise their hand and say, I want to get involved in some meaningful way. Our by far most committed law firm has been McDermott, Will & Emery, where Vanessa serves as a partner. But we're starting to see other law firms in our ecosystem say they want access to this group of talent, and they want to be associated with MedTech Color. And that's something exciting that we're going to see on the horizon. But sign on up and come see us in Boston. Vanessa?
Yeah, if by chance you're not able to join us in Boston, we do have our online platform, which for the past few years during the pandemic has been really meaningful in terms of us still being able to have this event and connect with people. So if you are joining us online, we will have rooms that are hosted by senior executives and leadership from different organizations in the MedTech ecosystem, where you'll have an opportunity to network virtually in small groups. And folks who have had the opportunity to participate in those virtual settings have found new relationships, new connections, and new ideas about how to drive diversity, equity, and inclusion in their own organizations or just personally. So if you're not able to be in Boston in person, there's still an option for you to network with us, and we hope you take advantage of that.
And we're talking about Tuesday, October 25th from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. And that rolls right into the rest of the AdvaMed conference, which is, I think, pound for pound. It's going to start taking on JP Morgan. I'm saying it right here. I think eventually we're going to move MedTech over to the right coast. Sorry about that, Kwame. I know you're on the left coast, I think. Over to the right coast. And let's get a little love up in the Boston area for the MedTech industry for sure. Well, Vanessa and Kwame, I always appreciate our time together, and certainly appreciate your efforts on making the MedTech industry, health tech industry, a better place because of your efforts.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Joe.
Great. So I'll see you all in Boston in a couple weeks. But until then, I'm Joe Mullings from 160 Studios. Be well.